Hey, what is going on, everybody?
What's happening?
Welcome back, Ministry Talks. This is episode 4.
Episode 4.
Okay, so we're kind of covering a lot of different things this season.
Right.
And I love that what we're getting into is kind of like, if you peel back, there's many layers to an onion.
Yes.
But and I feel like that's kind of what we're doing in this season. I feel like we're having conversations about pastors having education.
Right.
You know, we're kind of getting into the nitty gritty of this stuff.
Yes.
And I think if you've been in church long enough, you know, there's a language that we use.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it, but there is a language that we use.
Right. Without trying to, speak too much Christianese or ministryese or whatever.
Right. Like I think it's just natural. I think either you pick it up, you learn it. But if you've been in ministry for any amount of time, and if you've been in any leadership role,
mm-hmm.
there have been many questions that have been brought to me, even as a youth pastor. There are like youth leaders that will present this. Hey, this is something that I think we should do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I think this is something that we should think about.
Right.
And so it's not that I'm not thinking about it, or I don't want them to think I'm not thinking about it.
Right.
But a lot of times there's moments and spaces where, as me and my wife are leading this thing together, okay, where are we at?
Uh-huh.
Okay, how big is our youth ministry?
Mm-hmm.
How big is our leadership team?
Right.
Because then if we start with the leadership team, hey, this is what we can accomplish right here to make it not just successful, but less stressful.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And so in today's episode, we are talking about the power and the power and the problem with should.
Right.
The power and the problem with should. So I have heard from youth leaders, or I've heard it said like, hey, we should consider doing this,
right.
or we should try to do that. I never want to ignore my leaders. I always hear what they say. I take what they say.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of ask some questions. There's even been moments where I have sat on it, thought about it, talked with Heather. Hey, what do you think? And we've implemented some of those things.
Right.
And it turned out to be great, because you know what? It's not my youth ministry.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you operate as a team. Yeah.
Right. I always say this is not my youth ministry. This is our youth ministry. And so when I say our as a collective, I mean with the leaders,
mm-hmm.
because I want to release them in their gifting so then the way they can do things.
Right.
But then I also have to say this respectfully without coming across arrogant, but I am the guy in charge.
Right.
I am the one that, like, if the event is great, huge success, we win.
Yes.
If the thing is a flop, huge failure, Isaiah, what were you thinking?
Right. Yes, but it's true. At the end of the day, the pastor is going to come to you and go, "What happened?"
I mean, it happens.
My hope would be that if it's a very big success, he would also come in and say, "Hey, great job. Make sure you tell everybody great job."
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's like, "Hey, Isaiah, what happened?"
Because believe it or not, I'm the one that is signing off on this.
Right.
I'm the one that's petitioning for this idea.
Yeah.
And also, I'm the one who has the budget that says, "Hey, okay, I got it. Let's make it happen."
Right.
So I'm just very thankful that I have a great team. I have a great team, and I want to say that loud and clear. I have the greatest team ever. Like, they show up, they're faithful, they serve their guts out.
Right.
They're with me. You know, I'm with them, and we know on Wednesday nights at 5:00, you know, we do our setup, 6:00 we're in prayer, but we're running from that time until we're done.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
And so usually we'll do a leaders meeting, but that meeting is just kind of to hang out and laugh and joke,
mm-hmm.
because, you know, sometimes it's serious all the time.
Right.
So have you, Pastor Wes, ever been hit with the power and the problem with should?
Okay. So yes, I have multiple times.
Okay.
Here's the power behind the word should.
Okay.
And before we get too deep in all of that, I just want to shout out to Ray Kolke. He may never watch this, and that's fine. But my good friend Ray Kolke, he's a therapist.
Yeah.
And he says that there is always a problem when someone comes to start shoulding on you. And I know it sounds crazy.
Sounds terrible.
But, you know, when
I love that
when
term.
we get a lot of people going, "Hey, Pastor, you should," or "Hey, Pastor, we should," or why don't we do such and such? We should.
Right.
And so he that just stuck with me so many years ago. You know, people are they like to should on people. They like to actually say what others should do, because it's part of a mindset of control.
Right.
Or it's a lack of communication. Like, they don't really know how to suggest something without it being, this dynamic, hey, I want to do this. Because oftentimes the problem with should is the folks want to see it but don't want to do it.
Like I've heard it said, and I've even said it before, I don't want to tell you what to do, but what I would do if I were you.
There you go. Like if it were me, I would do
Right.
it this way. Well, that's a very passive aggressive way of leadership, but it's also a very passive aggressive way to have friends or to.
I've stopped saying that.
And so
Yeah, I've stopped saying it.
But the power behind it is oftentimes you might be able to get great ideas.
Yeah.
Or the next step in a process, or hey, shouldn't we think about? And then it kind of opens the door to whatever it is you're going through.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of power in it. There's a lot of power in suggestion. The problem comes in when it's more about I want to see this happen, but I don't want to do it.
That is true.
And or we should do this, and they're kind of hinting at you asking them then to get that done. Here's the hard part in ministry. We don't always know everybody, but some people that we do know.
Yeah.
We're
Talk
like,
about that.
we're like, okay, we could probably do that, but I don't think you're ready to handle that kind of thing.
And can I just say this? Because see, we're in two different seats.
Right.
You're the senior pastor who has final say.
Right.
I am the youth pastor that has final say to an extent.
Right.
So like my team will come to me, hey, let's do this, let's do that, let's go here and go there. All of those things sound great. All of those things I would love to do, but let me go ask.
Right.
Because believe it or not, and I love this, I love my pastor, shout out Pastor Jack. He doesn't micromanage.
That's cool.
But he keeps an ear to the ground to make sure things are still
kind of moving where they need to be.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do I mean with that?
Yeah.
I have free range to be able to do everything I can within what has been asked and required of me.
Correct.
Are you creating a safe place? Is worship taking place? Is the word of God happening? Is community being built?
There you go.
And if those 4 check boxes are all green, Isaiah, yes.
Right.
He always believes, why have an event if you're not engaging in community or at least preaching the word?
Right.
Like there should be a teaching moment, whether it is you or throughout.
So then to kind of oppose that, I guess that's the wrong word, but on the other side of that, somebody would come up and say, hey, we should do just fun hangout groups.
Yeah. I love that concept. I think that's great. The way I've answered that is we have groups every other week.
Right.
So there is an engagement that you're going to have. We're actually planning right now. We do quarterly hangouts.
Okay.
And I love the quarterly hangouts because we do those quarterly hangouts at the church.
All right.
And it creates a space. 1, everybody's going to show up there.
Right.
1 or 2 saves us money on our budget too.
Yes, for real.
And we've got a nice little hangout area. We've got a Nintendo Switch. We've got a store. We buy the snacks. Like we do all these things.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we cannot accomplish here.
Right.
Right. So we do the quarterly hangouts. Now, if something huge was like, hey, let's do this. Like, hey, let's go over to Yakima to go to, and it happened to me. Let's go to Yakima to go to this winter retreat. Let me go talk to Pastor and them. Because what you guys don't know on the back end of that is that's funding.
Right.
I got to pay for a bus.
Yeah.
I got to get a hotel.
Right.
And then I also have to think, is this even the right time? Because the pass is terrible. I'm taking kids. Parents are trusting me to take kids over the pass in hopes that it doesn't shut down.
Right.
So I have to sometimes, and I say this with all humility, I sometimes have to flex that muscle a little bit to kind of be, hey, listen, you know what? That sounds great, but here are some of the, and you know what? Anytime I've ever done it, they're like, you know what? I didn't think about that.
There you go.
I love that the ideas are coming because that tells me you're bought into this.
Yes.
And that tells me that you're just as passionate. But I also have to make sure to flex the muscle a little bit and kind of be like, hey, here are some of the problems or here are some of the obstacles that could hinder this. And 2, I have to run it by pastor. Right. Like, believe it or not, like, yes, for summer camp, that's a given. I just have to make sure to find the place, the price, whatever, if it's going to be $300 or $285, whatever. Right. I work that out myself. He's not against that. But like to just randomly say, hey, let's just go.
Hey, we should just go do this. Yeah.
I have to there's protocol.
So when folks come up to me and go, hey, Pastor, we should do such and such. I have an answer, and I have a saying that I've done for many, many years, and I think it's quite effective, though it has turned many people away. And again, that's one of the problems with should of, are you coming to suggest something that you want but you don't want to participate in, or you want but you don't want to lead? So my answer has always been, that sounds like a good idea. Come back to me with 3 other people, like build a team around this idea.
Okay.
And come back to me with details and plans and a team that's going to put forth the effort and the time, and we'll do our best to fund it. Like, if we should do it, and it's really something that you feel so strongly about, okay, Pastor, we should have a quilting ministry here. Well, first of all, I'm going to be like, okay, go find some other people who want to quilt with you.
I'm assuming you're not making this up.
I'm not in one sense.
Okay.
And at the same time, I am. That's just kind of the off the cuff.
I'm not laughing at people who quilt.
I'm not either. I think it's. I don't know how much of a ministry it could be unless. Anyway, that's a whole different realm. But I usually tell them, okay, come back to me with 3 other people, right? Because if you've got 3 other people, you formed a team, you actually can do this.
Yeah.
You know, this team, and then let's see what we can do to fund it. Right. Let's try it, because that's my other thing. Let's try it for a while. If it works, let's capitalize on it. If it doesn't, we're going to shut it down. But I say all of that up front. When somebody walks up to me and says, Pastor, we should. And then also I take into account the character of the person.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
From the mouth of whomever is saying it.
Right.
I'm listening to both their heart and the Holy Spirit. And, you know, Pastor, we should do this and we should do that. And you're over here mean mugging me while you're saying it. I'm pretty sure you're trying to air a grievance that you don't know how to do in a different setting.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's maybe my fault for not going, hey, as your pastor, if you really have a grievance or you really have something you want to talk about, come talk to me.
Yes.
Instead of, hey, Pastor, we should have a confidential prayer request line. Okay, so that means you got something to talk about. So why don't you come talk to me about it?
Yeah, there you go.
Right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, my door's open. Our books here at the church are open. If you are a giver in the church, you can come and see the books at any time you want to. Okay. Instead of, hey, Pastor, we should have a annual financial report for the church. Okay, I asked 2 questions. 1, do you give to the church? If you don't, why are you so concerned? That's just being real.
Yeah.
2, if you do give to the church, then why don't you go ahead and set up an appointment? Our books are always open. I've said that from the very beginning. We don't hide anything.
Yeah.
We have accountants who know where every penny goes,
yes,
where every penny comes from, above board, all of that jazz. But when it's presented in the way of we should or you should, then there's something else that's there. There's
like something hidden.
There's something else that's there that I want to get to the bottom of, so that we can either have better ministry, have better communication, have better relationships, something.
You know, one of the things I've even noticed, I was talking with a family middle of last year, and, you know, they're sitting out in our lobby, sitting at a table, mm-hmm, eating their donuts and drinking their coffee, kind of enjoying the beautiful perks of what
right,
church offers.
Right.
And in the conversation, you know, I kind of wish there'd be more, you know, or try to connect, and you know, I want to get okay. And so for 3 weeks, I watched this family, and do you know where they sat during service?
No.
In the lobby.
Okay. All right. Do they not like the theater style chairs, or what?
I don't know, but I just recently, now I'm throwing this out there, I'm human. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize at a later time. But for right now,
at a later time, okay.
If I'm wrong,
yeah.
I just recently saw them sitting in the service.
Okay.
But what was interesting was within the 2 weeks or 3 weeks that I would see them sitting out there, they had their Bible, you know, either the music is too loud or mm-hmm, whatever the case may be.
Right.
I mean, I'm thinking you're there with enough time to down some coffee and eat a donut. When people tell me they feel like they can't connect, or I wish this was here, or I wish that was there,
right,
I then have to think in the perspective of, where are you at? Because if I'm seeing you sit in the lobby during service,
right, if you're not doing something to connect
or to be seen,
or to even be seen, yeah, maybe then there's something there. There's probably something there.
But like I said, I've just seen them now sitting in
service.
In service.
Okay.
One of the things I'm passionate about, it has not been a go yet, but creating a space for my high school students.
Okay.
And I've brought this up. And, there are family members who are like, how come we don't have this? And the reason why we don't is I have to honor my pastor. He wants everybody sitting up front, sitting upstairs as a family.
Right, doing it
together.
together.
What I mean? And I'm not trying to throw him under the bus. I'm honoring him, but I'm also answering the same way he's giving me an answer. I want them to get used to me, the pastor of this house, and, because there's a turnover rate, or the statistics show that when a kid turns 18 and they leave the youth group, they don't come to the actual sanctuary.
Right.
They leave the actual church. He's not lying. He's telling the truth there.
Right.
I only get them once a week. And within that once a week, I only get them for about 20 to 30 minutes of engagement.
Right.
I am sacrificing a week to give my leaders more interaction with groups.
Yeah.
Because if I wanted to be that pastor, I'd preach every week.
Good luck with that. I ain't doing that.
I'm not either.
Right.
I'm allowing my leaders to speak. And I've learned from you too. I'll give myself a 6-week sit down.
Right.
And I'll let all my leaders speak. But what am I saying here? When people are asking me, hey, how come we don't have this? We should have this. Don't worry. I want some of those things you're asking for. But I also have to live out this thing called honor.
Right.
And I have to live it out in front of you, even when I don't want to.
And a chain of command, authority.
Even when I don't want to, I have to.
Right.
I want to be with my high school students on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Hey, let's dive even deeper into what we just talked about on Wednesday.
So here we go. Let me get this one for you real quick,
okay.
And then we'll start. We'll work our way to wrapping up. Have you ever had somebody come up to you and say, "Hey, Pastor Isaiah, you should start your own church. You're great."
I have.
I know I put you on the spot, but go ahead.
I have, and I hear it more often
than not.
Yeah, I do. And when it's even awkward when people ask me in front of Heather.
I guess, yeah. So what does that tell you? So we're not even talking about the character of the person, but what does that tell you? That tells you that somewhere, somehow, for some reason, they may be discontented with something going on.
Yeah.
Right. The whole should. Now, I brought that to you because, as we talked offline, Paul, when he was talking to, I believe it's the Church of Corinth, and he said that there were Judaizers that followed the disciples.
Yeah.
And what was the main thing that the Judaizers were pushing? They were pushing circumcision, right? They said you can follow Jesus, that's fine, but you should also get circumcised.
Because you said they were already circumcised.
Because they were already circumcised. So a lot of the problem with the word should, or the problem with the concept of should, is it's not fair, or it's not equal.
Yeah.
Or why do I do this, or why don't I have that, but you do? We should level the playing field. And the reality is, and this is Pastor West, this isn't Isaiah, I'm speaking for myself. The reality is there will never be a level playing field except for everybody's sin nature.
Yes.
At the foot of the cross, we are all equal. Other than that, God has designed us to be different and to be unique-ish within our own giftings and settings.
Yeah.
But what the Judaizers wanted was, okay, well, we want to follow Jesus too, but we're already circumcised. So if you're going to follow him, then you have to go through the same pain I went through. You have to go through the same rituals that I think are okay. You have to do the same thing that, and so the problem with the word is the heart behind, I want you to be equal with me. I want you to have the same pain, the same issue, the same whatever it was, so that I can feel better about myself and my sacrifices. And when you do have that concept of, hey, pastor, we should, or hey, pastor, you should, I always ask that question. What is the underlying reason behind it? Like, what is the thing that I'm missing, or that you're missing, or that you're not saying? Spouses, we can do that for our spouses as well. Right. There's this whole joke that, men just say what they think and women just kind of beat around the bush and all this other stuff. We don't. Every person is different. And so when one of us tells the other, hey, we should do such and such.
Yeah.
That means that there's something underneath there that needs to be communicated either differently or properly or so that we can be on a level playing field. Like my wife, her favorite phrase and my favorite phrase is we should get on the same page. In other words, you need to know what I want for the day.
Yep.
But no disrespect. I totally understand when she says that, what we are about to do. I totally understand when she says that, our calendars and our time, like we are going to synchronize our watches.
Yes.
But I know that, and I appreciate that about my bride. But you get somebody coming into the church, they only been here, 4 months. 4 months, maybe. Hey, Pastor, we should have so-and-so.
Okay.
And I'm like, wait.
Because I know we're closing. I just got to throw this out there.
Okay, go for it.
And I mean this with all respect and love in my heart for people. I really do love people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I believe this is Isaiah. Nothing to do with Pastor West. If he just so happens to agree, that's on him.
Uh-huh.
There are a lot of ideas that get thrown our way from the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that idea is heard or ignored, now you're going to leave the church because the church didn't want to listen to me, or I tried to give an idea and I tried to help grow the church. There's a lot of offense. But by the time you get to me, I'm probably 8th or 12th on the list of pastors you've already approached with the same idea.
Right.
Now, going back into what you said about the character, maybe there's a reason why nobody has said yes or bit to what it is you're bringing because of who you are.
It could be, yeah. It could absolutely be that.
I'm just throwing that out there because I want to be able to see this thing not one dimensional, but I want to be able to see this thing with like a equal like look at it, where it's like maybe you're coming from a place where you're hurt, and maybe your ideas weren't heard. I can't help heal that by saying yes.
Right. Well, especially if it's going to be done poorly.
Right.
And that's something that I don't know, maybe we'll talk about this one in one episode, but the concept of excellence versus the concept of perfection, right, in ministry. But we don't want to do things poorly. We want it to be effective. We want it to be as complete as it can be. We don't have to have it perfect, but it's got to work. Right.
I'm gonna tell you offline. There, a good friend of mine, Matt. He hit me with it's like I think it's like 4. It's like the 4-letter P's.
Okay. Yeah.
Of what happens. And I'll tell it to you offline.
Okay.
I just think it's hilarious. But it's not like I want to wrap up here. It's not like we don't want to hear your ideas. We do.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that we're against. It's not. And I also want to say we're not closed off. We're not against it. We're open to it. But I think there also has to be an awareness on your end of paying attention to what season the church is in.
Correct.
Like, okay, if your church is now transitioning into something new, transitioning into something, I've heard you say, hey, listen, help me build this thing.
Right.
Don't just leave yet.
Right.
Like, let's see, because
let's try it.
Let's try it. And I'd rather say, let's give something a try than not try nothing at all.
Right.
But the thing that we have to try is to at least be okay with, hold on, before we get there, I'm trying to work through a couple other things.
Right.
Because I don't want to say yes to this and then abandon everything else I've been thinking about.
Correct. Because then mission drift happens or mission creep happens, and then you get, or you take on too much, you bite off more than you can chew, whatever phrase you want to use.
Yep.
And it all came from the beginning concept of, hey, Pastor Isaiah, don't you think we should?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
and then you just kind of drift away. And so I want to,
you can close with
I want to close it with this kind of concept. So remember, the answer that I've been giving really tells me a whole lot about the person who comes to should.
I think that's good.
Okay. And the answer that I give is go build a team, bring me the details. And I've only had a very small percentage of people actually do that, which means that's why I think that there was a grievance or some sort of miscommunication, or maybe you're not the one to actually lead it, but if you talk about it enough, if you drip the vision enough, maybe someone will pick it up and lead it. So if you're out there trying to build a team and somebody goes, oh yeah, man, that would be a great idea, here's some of my ideas on top of that or with that, then you actually have this momentum and this drive and this actual passion, maybe that you just, hit somebody's passion with that. For example, I was told, hey, Pastor Wes, we should have a Celebrate Recovery here at Hope Church.
Yeah.
Awesome. Go build a team. Because have you ever attended a Celebrate Recovery? Do you know what the program is? It's an actual program. It doesn't belong to any individual church. It's a whole curriculum.
Yeah.
Have you been to one? Do you know that it's more than drug addiction or more than pornography addiction?
Yep.
Do you know that, what is the whole thing? Go build a team, bring me all the details, and let's see if we can fund it. And unfortunately, we still don't have one because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this as softly as I can. Ministry is a lot of work, and not everybody wants to tackle it or take it on. But the pastor should.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with it. But it's also the power behind it. Pastor, we should, and then just watch something grow and evolve and really just be brought into this, this whole beautiful ministry that actually can happen. So you want to close this up, man? What are we talking about next episode?
Okay, listen, one, thank you for joining us. Like, subscribe, follow. Make sure you guys continue to stay up to date with what we got going on. Episode 5 is going to be, I'm going to pull this thing right here. The difference between talking at someone and talking with someone.
Right. There's a huge difference in talking at someone versus talking with someone.
And we're going to be able to cover that through leadership, through marriage, through relationship, because it's not just a leadership thing. I think it's just a human being issue that we have to get better at communicating, so then that way you're heard.
Exactly.
I think that's just all I got. We love you so much. We don't know everything, but we're willing to walk with you through anything, and we'll see you guys in episode 5.
Shoot us an email, Ministry Talks Podcast, mintalkspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Comments, questions, all of that. Thanks, guys.
Yes.